PJNet Live, Part 2. We have standing by Michelle Medlock Adams. We have our bumper rolling. We have a background. We are recording. We are streaming on all 4 platforms. We will switch to Studio 6 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to PJNet Live, Part 2, the second half. Now, you may think after that last session with Latan Roland Murphy that it can't get any better. Well, I wouldn't blame you for thinking that, but I challenge you to remain open-minded. So open-minded that, in fact, your brains spill out, because here's what's about to happen. There's another new book out. I know I say this all the time, and it's called They Call Me Mom. And we are fortunate to have the very person that is a mom and wrote the book. Now, hi Michelle, how you doing?
Hey.
I don't normally talk a lot about books on here because this is really not about books. It's about the Lord and His kingdom and the people that wrote them. But this one has captured my imagination because I have read one of the little endorsement thingies, and it says this is a spit your coffee out, something like that. What on earth is going on with this book? They Call Me Mom. What?
Well, you know, anytime you get Bethany, Jet, and I talking or writing or doing anything, we have a good time. And so we wrote this book, They Call Me Mom. At the same time we were writing Platinum Faith, we were doing both these books, you know, at the same time. This one we finished actually before we finished Platinum Faith, but they're completely different books.
Yes.
You know, Platinum Faith launched last month. It's very serious. I mean, it was gut-wrenching to write. It was like each chapter. This one was not like it was less difficult to write, but we had so much fun doing it. Devotions for mamas. And actually, what's really funny about this is we've had several people who aren't moms read it, and this one gal said, "I'm a dog mama. I've got pets." I'm like, "All right, hey, listen, girl, this is for you too," because there's biblical truths in here for everybody, every woman. But we wrote it specifically for moms. Even if you're a dog mom, that's totally fine. And Gigi's. So what was great about this is Bethany is a wife to a military guy, right? Mm-hmm. Justin. She's a mom of 3 boys, and she's younger than me and has 3 boys still at home. I'm a mom to 2 girls, married to my high school sweetheart, Jeff, who's a CPA. And now I'm a Gigi. I have 3 grandkids with 1 more on the way in May. And so we're in different mom. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm an empty nester now, and she's got a teenager. I mean, I've lived through that. So I talk her down a lot. In fact, I did that this morning. We had to talk her down off the roof session this morning. And then I could call her about some things, and we help each other a lot. And that's what we found out. Moms, we need camaraderie. We need that, to know that there are other moms on the journey with us who are supporting us and praying for us and laughing with us and crying with us and just in the trenches with us. And that's what this book is all about. Real, raw, and resourceful are the taglines, and it's all 3 of those things.
Real, raw, resourceful. Okay?
Yes.
You know, something, as you were explaining, there is some, I wouldn't call differences, there's contrast, and it's really seasonality between you and Bethany. And I think you and I'm your senior, I'm sure, but one of the joys that I have, you know, the older we get, we take joy in mentoring someone down the path that we've already walked, and we know where where the potholes are. We know where the snake, the cuidado pits are. It's very satisfying, and it's very biblical to do so.
Yes.
And I see you and Bethany in that.
Right for us.
Yeah, I see it, and you all have like a magic.
We're like sisters.
There's some chemistry of some kind. I don't want to try to characterize it beyond that, but now the danger in doing that, the caution that I have to hold myself in account, is we are not to vicariously live through others our own insecurities, inadequacies, and failures, and try to make them into what we feel like we failed to do. I've seen a lot of parents do this with their kids, and it's tough. I had one parent, he wanted his kids to, go in the military. Well, nothing wrong with wanting your kids to go in the military, but what if your kid doesn't want to go in the military? Can you still be proud of them?
Right.
Can you be proud of them if they want to play the trumpet in the band instead of playing on the football team? I would struggle with that as a father. Quite frankly, I mean, I'm being authentic here. My daughter was a cheerleader. I mean, that's got to be every dad's dream. But what if she wouldn't have been a cheerleader? Would I still love her? Would I still be proud of her? It's tough.
Yes, I've met your daughter. She's amazing. You would have been. Well, I'll tell you the thing that Bethany and I have learned in writing this book is, though we both leaders, we both were cheerleader coaches, all those things. But even though we have a lot of common things in our lives, we both love Jesus. We both are married to her college sweetheart, my high school sweetheart, and we both are writers, and we have a lot of things in common.
You're
There
both
are
blonde.
differences. We're both blonde. Well, as far as you know, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, we have all these commonalities, but there's these differences that made the book more rich, and that's because when you come at it from two different. I mean, she's a millennial, and I'm a an X person. I'm a Gen Xer, and so even those that's a major difference in just the way we've done things and how we've grown up and how we raise our children. And so I think this book really, because of that, it makes it more for everybody. Every mom can find themselves in this. And what we did differently, and I've done 3 other mom devotionals that have done very well for me, but in doing this one together, we didn't just set out to tell some funny stories, although we tell some. We tell some humdingers in here. But we set out to see what is it that moms really need and want. And we took an entire week that we were supposed to be writing when we were in Florida. We got this place in the middle of nowhere. When I say that, it was called Yankeetown, Florida. And I mean, they
I know where
wouldn't
that
deliver
is.
pizza to where we were.
Yeah.
Okay, like
Yeah.
there was a swamp, there was nobody,
Right.
pizza wouldn't deliver. But because of that, we were able to really work, and our goal was to have the book finished, or at least close to being finished by the time we left there, because we were working like 20 some hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, we scrapped what we'd already done and started over. Because what we found was, when we started Googling things like famous mom blogs and the ones that had the most followings, and like Scary Mom and all those different ones, we found out some of the common themes were not anything like what we thought we were going to originally write. It wasn't just things that we knew we could write about. It was like, what do moms really need to know about? Things like mom guilt, and how to mom on a budget, and what do you do when there's competition between your children? These were things that kept coming up over and over and over again, and how to still have a life but be a really great mom. But I have my own dreams. But can I have dreams and still be a mom? Of course. So we cover all those themes, but all those themes were not something we came up with. We actually researched them and found that these are things that moms are talking about on the daily on all these famous mom blogs. And that's how we came up with the topics for this book, through research and through prayer and through just talking through every single devotion. We sat and talked probably 2 hours over. What's the best way to say this? Do you have a story to lead this one? No, I do. That's how we decided who would lead each one. One of us leads and the other one comes in with our take on it. And then we say, so it's like, they call me Dream Chaser. And then if Bethany leads that, then I come in with Michelle's Intel. Or if I lead it, she comes in with Bethany's Jetliner. And then at the end, it's God Calls Me This. So it's really fun how we did it.
Well, some of the topics that you researched, that you kept finding the hits on, I would consider that a foundational layer. In other words, whether you're a mom today or 100 years ago, those principles were in effect. It's kind of like physics, the laws of gravity. It's always in effect. However, there are some stark realities in today's culture that are very different from just 20, 30 years ago. Do you try to address those in your book?
We talk a little bit about how life moves at a faster pace, which it does, and how it's important to unplug from all the electronics and things that the kids now are growing up with. I mean, my kids they had some electronics, but it wasn't like today where they're born with an iPad in their hand pretty much. So we did talk a little bit about that, but we talked about fundamental things like, every mom wants their child to be safe. I mean, we baby proof our home when we're only a few weeks pregnant. I mean, these are things that moms think about. We get the book, What to Expect When You're Expecting, and we read it from cover to cover, and we know everything to expect, and yet you don't really know what to expect. Like, you prepare yourself, and then they hand you this baby, and you're like, are they really going to let me leave the hospital with this thing? Like, I don't know what to do. It's like when you take driver's ed when you're in high school, and they, the simulator where it's like you're acting like you're driving, and a dog will run out on the video and you go around it. This is how we learn to drive. But until you're really behind the wheel, actually out in live driving on the paved roads, and there's real life people crossing the street, other parked cars here and cars jetting out and all that, you don't get that real life experience till you're really doing it in real life. Like the simulator just doesn't measure up. It might be a little helpful, but I didn't find it to be that helpful. It was the same way with parenting. I read all the books. I'm a researcher. I read everything I could get my hands on, but it wasn't until I'm at 2 a.m. feeding and she won't eat and she's screaming and I don't know what to do to make her not cry, that where you go, none of that stuff really works. You just have to kind of figure it out. And so we talk about that. We talk about trying to do all the right things and still having some what we call #mom fail. You're going to have some of those, and you know what? It's okay. So we address all that. We don't want anybody to read this and think, oh my gosh, I'm a terrible mom. We want them to go, no, we're all in this together. We've all had mom fails, and let's be okay with that.
#mom fail.
#mom fail. That's right. We talk about that a lot. But the whole like the one about being safe. We have one about that, and Bethany has a story about that where her kids call her the fun sponge because she said that she kind of, instead of letting them just be boys and do stuff with Justin, and she like will suck up all the fun and be like, no, that's too dangerous. No. Like football, right? A lot of injuries in football. It's scary for a mom of football players because one thing can change their whole life. It's the same way with cheerleading. Actually, there's more injuries in cheerleading than in football.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And football players wear protection. We got pads and helmets and things.
Yeah. Yeah, and we are. When I was a cheerleader, and when my girls were cheerleaders, and when Bethany was a cheerleader, especially if you've got the guys doing the basket toss and they're flying you up in the air, you better hope they're going to catch you, because if they don't, you're paralyzed. Like seriously, those things happen all the time. So you have to be. Being a mom is it's tough in so many respects. It's the best job you'll ever have, and it's the hardest job you'll ever have. It's also the most rewarding, and it's the most aggravating, all rolled into one. And you have to understand that there are seasons. And so that's what Bethany and I talk about with each other a lot, and that's what we discuss in this book, that there are going to be seasons where, I can remember times when Abby would just crawl up my lap and just tell me, you're the best mommy in the world, and love me and kiss me and want me to read her 25 stories. And then, fast forward a few years and she was like, hates my guts. Didn't really, but there were a few of those teenage mom moments where we were butting heads and she told me I was the worst mother in the world, and I said, okay, well, I'm going to prove it then. Like we had those moments where teenage daughter and moms butted heads, and I guess we talk about some of that in the book because I'm not trying to make those like who have younger daughters fearful of that, but I want them to know that can happen even when they're raised in a Christian home, and you're praying over them and you're loving them every single day, because hormones are hormones. So it's like we're not sugarcoating anything in this book. We're just saying this is real and raw, and it's also resourceful. So we have sidebars with each chapter that have real practical information. Some of it are just like recipes. Some of it are like how to make a dream board with your child. Like encourage them to follow their dreams. What are their dreams? What are your dreams as a family? What are your dreams as a mom? Make individual dream boards. We have a whole sidebar on just how to create one of those. We just wanted to make this a book that moms would dog ear and use all the time.
I'm a dad, and you're making this book sound good. Should dads read this book?
You know what? It wouldn't hurt. There's a lot of stuff in here that would apply, because a lot of dads are much more involved now than I think they used to be, because they have to be, because most parents, both parents work these days. That wasn't always the case a long time ago, but now usually it takes two incomes. So because of that.
Well, while Michelle regains her composure, let me point out, she is talking about her new book that she co-wrote with Bethany Jett, which anytime you see Michelle, you don't have to look too far. You will probably find Bethany. Now, I don't know which website to direct you to if you want to know about this book, but you could go to michelleandbethany.com. It might be there. I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. And so we're kind of waiting on Michelle. I don't know what happened. You all saw that, didn't you? It's like you're talking to somebody on the phone and you feel like there was a car crash or something. It's been a great time. Let me go down the chat room and let me use this opportunity, because we've gotten kind of busy, and I've kind of gotten caught up and swept up into the whirlwind of things going on around us. And I want to take a moment to tell each of you that are here in the chat room and who watch this live how much you mean not only to me personally, how much you mean to what PJNet stands for. So I want to do a shout out Doug Carter, who is, by the way, going to make his first appearance on PJNet Live in the near future. Hazards 4, who is he has been here when there was no real reason to be here. When we didn't have all these, people coming on board. It was just me, and we were all just sitting here hanging on when there was no reason to hang on. You really find out who your friends are when things are down like that. And Steve, I appreciate your faithfulness and your friendship and being a brother in Christ. Rachel Colby is here with us. And, okay, I see Michelle has just sent me a text. Rachel, I'm going to get back to you. Okay, here's what I want to do. Rachel is relatively a newcomer, but folks, she is thinking PJNet throughout the day. I know this because, well, I get calls from her and messages from her, and I appreciate that. Sunbelt girl who has been with us since literally it began. And Tammy from Georgia, one of our most strident, is that the right word? I don't know if that's a good word or not. One of our most ardent cheerleaders for PJNet Live, and we're very fortunate to have a good core team. It's like having a family. I'm going to send Michelle a new link to rejoin us in the chat room if that's possible, and I'm just kind of ad-libbing as we go here, killing some time. Obviously we'll probably run a little late or a little over, so if you all have to go pee or get coffee or even go to bed, I get it. Tomorrow, some new gears coming in. We are getting better and better. Each conference that I go to, I learn that there's things that we're not doing right. There's things that we're not doing enough of. There's things that we might not need to do, and so forth. And I see that we have magically been joined. But I got some new gear coming in tomorrow. And now I think I can hear Michelle, and I think I in fact can see Michelle. Hey Michelle, let me wind up my monologue and we'll get right. We conserved your time. Anyway, we have bought a camera stabilizer so that we can shoot footage while walking, and we're not tied to a tripod anymore. And these things are really, really high tech, and they're real boy toys. I tell you what, they start at around $100. They go up to several thousand. So I had to do a lot of research to find out. Obviously, there's a difference, and we want to buy nice and not buy twice, but we also want to be a good steward of that which the Lord has entrusted in us. Where were we, Michelle? I kind of kept it going there for a while, but I was saying dads
I appreciate that.
would probably find this interesting, if at least for the humor. But you point out that there are some generational issues. And that's not the right word. Some, I guess I'll call it generational issues. In the old days, there was a nuclear family. You had the grandmother, you had the father, the grandchildren, you had 4 generations, in many cases, under the same roof. Then the Industrial Revolution came along, and Dad's now gone off to work. And next thing you know, Mom's going off to work. Next thing you know, Mom and Dad don't even live in the same house. Is it fair to say that it's harder to be a mom now than it was 20, 30, 40 years ago?
Absolutely is. I mean, there are moms from that area.
Well, I wish that audio was coming. We're kind of frozen there. I don't know what happened. It's been a while since we've had this kind of fun on PJNet Live, but it has not been the first time. I'm going to hang on and see if that connection restores itself. And I'll kind of continue, give you a little PJNet Live update, because we hadn't had any of those lately. So what these camera stabilizers do, if you've ever seen them, they're really cool. They have the camera on three little like axis, X, Y, and Z, and it balances the camera. Now the one I got is purely mechanical. It literally uses gravity and balance to stabilize the camera. But I've already picked out the next one that we're going to get. Actually has motors on each of the three, so it can literally control the camera. Rather than just stabilize it, it can control and smooth out. You know, it can cause the camera to digitally focus in and pan back out, or, you know, zoom back out, and then it can pan across. And it has a thing called a vortex, where you can keep the subject in the middle and spin the camera around. And it will also, folks, we're getting better and better and better. I wish that there was another conference coming up between now and March, because I do not know of any opportunity to use this new stuff until then. So I have no idea why we are unable to reconnect with Michelle, but I am grateful that I had a chance just to share with you all how important you are to what we're doing. We're gaining momentum. The restreaming has been a godsend. We were struggling on YouTube, trying to get even double-digit views on YouTube, and we invested in restreaming live on Facebook and on Twitter and on YouTube, of course. Keeps kicking me out. She said, "I'm gonna disconnect her and try again. If she comes in, we'll just kind of hang out here. If we get lucky enough to get her back." But I am amazed at some of the numbers. Not that they're that impressive in the big scheme of things. They're not yet anyway. I hope they will be. But folks, I am very encouraged when I see triple-digit views on some of the stuff that we are producing and putting out there, because the purpose of what we do here is to let people share their walk with Christ. So it's not about numbers for the sake of self-aggrandizement. It's about sharing a gospel-centered message in a way that's comfortable, safe, conversational, but a way that people can share their walk with Christ and project that outward into a world that really needs some encouragement. You know what I mean? It really does. So, well, folks, I am to the point of thinking that that's as much as we're going to get tonight. Sorry that we had some technical issues. Don't know what they are, but I guess at this point it won't matter too much. Everything went pretty well overall except for that. Glad we got a little bit of good stuff in before things went crazy. And folks, next week we are booked, and Barbara can tell you more. We have set up, and she may put it in the chat room. We're learning some new things. We're learning how to use the Facebook page, which we haven't publicized yet, so I don't want to say too much about it here. But what we're able to do is put the people and the bookings in there where it's in one place, where I won't do what I did last night and book two guests at the same time, the same day. That literally happened. So, but we are getting quite a, I won't call it a backlog, but a steady stream, certainly, where we once struggled to find guests. So folks, things are looking really good. I'm really pleased, and I just thank God for the opportunity to conduct this orchestra. So we'll wrap it up, and we will continue in our live chat room. Hope you'll stay there, join us there. It's at patriotjournalist.com. If you haven't visited our chat room, you will be blessed. I promise you, you will not be disappointed as PJNet Live continues.